see. Okay. We can refer to a psychedelic as a noun and an adjective. See, a thing can be a psychedelic or cause psychedelic effects. Mushrooms can be psychedelic, and so can a strip of paper. Also, an experience can be described as psychedelic, or in a way, be psychedelic for its qualities. For example, a song, a piece of art, and an entire generation can all be described this way. This is the difference between two words that sound the same. This is the story of LSD and the 1960s, and this is how you can tell the difference. Let's define the word first as a noun. Also known as hallucinogens, psychedelics are a class of psychoactive substances that produce changes in perception, mood, and cognitive processes. It is derived from the Greek word psyche, meaning soul or mind, and delein, to manifest, thus meaning mind manifesting, which is implied that psychedelics could help unlock unused parts of the human mind. This term was first coined as a noun in 1956 by psychiatrist Geoffrey Osmond in a letter to his colleague Aldous Huxley. Known psychedelics include the cactus peyote from the American deserts and Mexico, containing the psychoactive alkaloid mescaline, ayahuasca from South America containing DMT, and magic mushrooms containing psilocybin, later deriving the synthesized drug LSD, popularly referred to as acid. The first acid trip was held by Dr. Albert Hofmann, and it is commemorated as Bicycle Day, April 19, 1943, when he and his long-term colleague rode their bicycles back to Hofmann's home and experienced the first acid trip on LSD. However, the use of magic mushrooms has been used as part of religious and spiritual ceremonies for centuries. In Mexico, Maria Sabina allowed researcher R. Gordon Watson to participate in the rituals himself. He wrote about this in his article in Time magazine, Seeking the Magic Mushroom, in 1957. So now that we know what a psychedelic is and how it came into the public consciousness, let's learn about the ways that it can help create a new psychedelic attitude and establish a future of its own criminalization. Harvard professor Timothy Leary spearheaded a new way of thinking influenced by the use of LSD in the 1960s, coining the phrase turn on, tune in, and drop out. A lecture he gave in 1967 for the UCLA Communications Department, where he breaks down the phrasing, described it as turn on the mind's powerful ability with LSD, tune into your relationship with nature and the rest of the world, and drop out of the systems and thought patterns that make you feel negative or cause discomfort. This was not favorable for the conservative generation in power at the time. Under President Nixon, who did not support the use of any drug recreationally, Nixon passed the Comprehensive Drug Abuse Prevention and Control Act in 1970, announcing the war on drugs, labeling drugs as public enemy number one in his 1971 press conference. Of course, the purpose of LSD isn't always recreational. Modern medicine sees high potential in its use for treating things like addiction and depression. In this discussion from the World Science Festival in 2019, 4 scientists discussed the possible benefits of psychedelics like psilocybin have for treating chronic addiction and depression. Both diseases plague a large amount of population on a global level. Of course, researcher Stephen Ross outlines some disclaimers and possible negative effects. For example, they do not recommend children and teenagers take this drug as it could spark psychosis for the first time or have a long-lasting effect on their mental health, as well as patients that are already using treatments like SSRIs for their depression should not take anything like ayahuasca because it can cause something called serotonin syndrome. And while psilocybin is relatively safe to our physiology and our essential body functions, it can cause increased blood pressure, so it is recommended to use with caution. Uncontrolled, these drugs do sound scary and can have long-lasting negative effects on the wrong candidates. It is important to remember that the positives often life-changing experience that can be made possible through psychedelics in the care of medical professionals, is vital for improving the quality of life globally and should be allowed to be researched more. Conversations like this need to happen. It helps to destigmatize the use of psilocybin, eventually us being able to harness its potential health benefits. As notable content creator Joe Rogan has discussed with the leading tech executive Elon Musk in the popular podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, the increasing trend of microdosing in Silicon Valley, as reported by Forbes, Huffington Post, and the New York Times, show us that the use of LSD is back in media and back in style. Ayahuasca tourism in South America is rapidly growing, and Colorado was the first state to decriminalize the use of magic mushrooms in 2019. In the next 5 years, we can expect more important research that helps the case for why we should use psychedelics like psilocybin to treat depression and alcoholism. It is important to ask how far we could have already gone with research if this had all happened unrestricted back in the 60s. Thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day.